Okay. I think nearly got it. Nearly got it. Hold on. Just make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Uh, Wait, where is it? I know it's in here somewhere. Okay, what if I did that? Okay, no. Uh, okay, hold on. I'll find it. I'll find it. I'll find it. I just have to navigate correctly. This one. Okay, it's not this one. Hmm. Uh, okay, hold on. I'll find it. I'll find it. Just I've been doing the YouTubes for a while. You know, I have been okay. 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 Um, it's gotta be here. It's gotta be right there. Oh wow, that was easy. Oh wow, that was easy. Okay. Okay. Uh-huh. Okay. All right. I think I've got it now. I think. Oh fuck, I didn't even set up the phone. Professional, guys. Pro. Okay. Just where oh I don't have I don't have the bat. Oh, I was using the iHome. That's right, that's right. I haven't done this for a week. All right. I'm trying. Share camera. Okay. Right, then we have to set up the camera to make it so that I look decent. Need to shove something in here. Wait, will this work? Hold on. Is this scheme that I've concocted? Will this suffice? No. Okay. All right. New plan. The new plan is to come up with a plan. Well, I guess we're just gonna have to deal with it, aren't we? Okay. Just move that around like that. Do that. Wait a minute. Will these fit? Hold on. I almost got it. Almost got it. I'm a professional. Oh, oh, oh. I did it. Perfect. Okay. And then we just turn that off. Haha! It worked. I got it. I got it. Oh, all right. All right. Let me tell you, it has been this week has been simultaneously super relaxing, but also really annoying and stressful. Um, Super relaxing because I haven't had to work that much, and super annoying and stressful because I haven't been at work that much. Yeah, this financial recovery period is going to be something. It's going to be something. All right. I've already figured that part of that financial recovery is going to be to catch up on things, that I've perhaps fallen a little bit behind on. And so, how do we do that? Well, it's going to be it's going to be expensive. That's really all there is to it. Is it's going to be expensive. But you know, that's them's the beats of it, eh? Them's the beats of it. Just doing some quick check-in stuff on DNA, and then we'll go fishing. like we did last week. Um, yeah, we'll go fishing. Yes. Yeah. All right. Okay, cool. What is that? Why did that happen? Oh, ignore me. Ignore me. I'm crazy. Insane. But yeah, no, it turns out, catching up, or recovery, rather, is going to entail some, it's going to entail, is going to necessitate some catching up, right? All right. All right. Now I can just push in the keyboard. I'm also going to be double. Oh, fuck, I just hit the mic with my head. I'm also going to be double checking also going to be double checking the stream and everything to make sure we're all good. The camera's right there. To make sure we're all good. It's this one, isn't it? Yes. Okay. Alright, so let's see. Stream health. There's one different internet. You know the spiel. I'm on different internet, so I want to keep things checked up. Yeah, okay. Okay. I think we're good. Now I just need to make sure that this is correct. Capture method, display. Oh, okay. So that's working. That's good. Alright, okay. Alright. Wait a minute. Don't I not, do I not have, I don't have all the fish. Wait a minute. Aha, Everspring. Yeah, we gotta go to Everspring to get the rest of the fish, because I did a lot of fishing after the stream last week, and in the days afterwards. Hence why I got the maxed out fishing pole and all that. So I think we're only missing these two variants, and then we've caught every single fish. And we're just gonna have a fishing stream where I talk about, you know, where I talk about all of the, you know, uh, wait a second, boost your odds of luring fish variants. I believe it. Anyway, I got the Grandmaster fishing rod, so I did that. But we'll light up and then we'll light up and then we'll do. Oh shit! We'll light up and then we'll do this. Also, I realized I shut off the desktop sound. Okay. All right. I'm just gonna double check the fish. Night, dawn, and night. All right. We're gonna go back to the beginning of night, which the beginning of night is 20. So it's probably gonna be a minute before I properly get lit up. So 19. Oh, it might be a QOL. The thing didn't change. Alright, it's whatever though. It's whatever, I'm not overly concerned. Anyway, so since we have the Grandmaster rod, we don't ever have to do the fishing minigame again now that since we also have the auto reel in. Also, what have I busted out? What have I busted out? The last diesel. Because I have been cutting down, because I don't have the money to buy more cigars. So, but at the same time, it's, there's been some mental distress that I've been, just kind of just suppressing, really, really, Jesus. There's been a lot of, strain that I've been suppressing real hard. So we're just going to, pretty sure I can just get, yeah, I can get most of the bait. Pretty sure all these baits cost 500, except for that one. Okay, we've got 1,000 left. Need money. Fuck, give me half. Oh, 100k? That feels good. Anyway, yeah, we're gonna need characters. The primary things that we're going to be after are character track shift modules, Carmine globules, character experience, and money. Going to be after these things specifically, which character experience. I think there was 4 things: Carmine globules, character experience, character track shift mod. Okay, yeah, character track shift modules. There are no track shift modules in this one. Oh, okay. Well, I guess we're just going to grab 3 things from this tab and 4 things from this tab, because I don't really need weapon track shift modules immediately. I still have a small stockpile. Meanwhile, I'm completely out of character track shift modules. And, you know, being a little lazy boy and not farming the defense missions like I should be. So yeah, I have broken out the Diesel Unholy Cocktail. However, I've also neglected to take a meal before this, so I've also gotten butterscotch, just in case I start to feel sick. But yeah, we're gonna cut this boy, we're gonna light it up, and we're gonna do some fishing, and I'm going to talk about and we're gonna talk about the new year, you know, in a jovial kind of way, kind of like you know, most other people do close to the end. New Year's resolutions, that's what it is. We're gonna do that. What are going to be my New Year's resolutions? And you know, how am I going to make sure that I stick to them? And you know, the answer to that second one, I don't think will shock you if you've been keeping up with, you know, the recent goings on in these streams. Oh, fuck. I flaked it, but not enough. Also, I didn't cut much off of this at all. Fancy that. Anyway. It's been almost 2 in-game hours. Sybil's just been standing here glaring at me. You know, hot evil woman. Anyway. Alright. Now we can get lit up proper and talk about New Year's resolutions, you know, and how to keep them. Oh. Ugh. Honestly, I should probably shift myself to where I'm more in camera. Then again, some of that is also just I need to shift the fucking camera. Okay, there we go. There we go. As long as I sit like this, then we're good. Alright. I'm a little nervous, because this is a diesel, so I know it's gonna bite. It's gonna bite when, since, you know, on fresh light up, so. Here goes nothing. Oh. A strong, you know, spicy earthiness, peppery earthiness, one would say. A strong, peppery earthiness. Ooh, that is something. Anyway, let's fish. Spish while I talk. But yeah, a strong, peppery earthiness. I would expect nothing less of the Diesel Unholy Cocktail, which is today's stick, if you were wondering. Ugh. But it's the end of the year. This is where we. This is the. This is the part where we look back and think, all right, what did I do well, and where did I screw up? You know, naturally, what did I do well? Well, I kind of, held things together pretty well in terms of, my various healths. Financial health is, was held together in the present. I lived in the present. That was the good thing about this year. Bad thing is I didn't really think towards the future too much, and as a result, me now and in the near future is kind of bugged. What does Discord want? It's just pat to nowhere. But present and near future me have a plan, so it's fine. Ooh, that really burns. But yeah, you know, I had my little adventure in Martinsville, and met some really good boys, and made some money. Got me out of Taco Bell for a little bit, which I think was good. I mean, I'm back now, which you know, I'll be there for a certain period of time. You know, till I can find something white collar, I guess. Yeah, I'll probably still end up working it a whole year, just 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 so. Unless things get real bad, in which case, well, I'm gone. But you know, uh, this year was certainly an interesting one. You know, certainly interesting. We had our ups, we had our horrible downs. Oh my God, we had some horrible downs. It was all happened around Thanksgiving. What am I thankful for? I'm thankful I didn't get flat out fired from pizza. You know? And I know I kind of sound sarcastic when I say that, but ooh, yeah, oof. Oh God. But you know, this year was all right, I guess. Just kind of looking back on it, you know, I shed a lot of anger, which didn't come back when I got back to Taco Bell. At least, I mean, some of it did, but not nearly to the same level. I've also quickly killed it just because of how the environment has changed. Um, so there's that. This year was the year where I shed a lot of anger. Uh, which is good. Which is good. You know, it's not. I've got other things to focus on, like getting out of this fucking hole I've fallen into. But I'm not gonna harp on it forever. You know, as for but instead we're going to use this as an opportunity to look towards the future. And so, what is next year? What is next year if nothing but an opportunity to, improve on the faults of this year? First things first is I'm gonna fucking stay up on shit. Oh my God. Like, this is going to 2026 is for me is going to be the year of long hard work. I will make sure that things get done the way that I want, the way that I planned. I'm not going to accept, I'm not going to accept the whole, I'm not going to accept it because I'm tired of it. I'm not going to accept, being lackluster because it's what's gotten me into this situation. The goals will be accomplished. Provided something cataclysmic doesn't happen. Small delays are fine here and there. I just need to make up for it, and I just need to make up for it but goals will not be abandoned unless something like I experienced some kind of horrible emergency. In which case, you know, obviously that's a reevaluation. How am I going to do this? Oh, it's quite simple. I'm going to, I'm going to work the bell, be looking for white collar work to help me once I move out, and in the interim, I've discovered quote unquote DoorDash, so I'll be able to use that as a second source of income. So on my days off at Taco Bell, I'll be in the car, driving about to, you know, get that money, get some extra money. So, well, yeah, I say get some extra money, but it's more like fill my bank account and get caught up on things. I do not anticipate being able to get ahead at all. Instead, we're just going to be getting caught up. Where the end of the year here is made it so that I've fallen behind. Also, yeah, Sybil's just fishing away. She's just fishing away. You know. Made a lot of progress in this game since last week. Then again, I've had most of the week to play, so probably should have done the whole DoorDash thing a little bit sooner, but we all do foolish things. But yeah, we're gonna stay on it because, like I said, I don't know, probably across the last few streams, I am fucking sick of just, I'm fucking sick of, the part that past me has had to play in fucking present and near future me. So, present me has, near past and present me have decided, all right, we're gonna do this shit. We're gonna get this shit done. All right. But enough of the somber subjects. Let's talk about. I guess normally I talk about work, but like I've said, the environment at Taco Bell has changed. You know, it's I mean, obviously it would change. We've the manager, the general manager has changed once again. A funny little thing that I've noticed is that for the number of different general managers that I have worked under has been quite a lot. Because, I'm going to pause fishing so I can have my hand up so I, count on my fingers. So when I first started working there, that was one general manager. And then I think a month or two after I started, he left, which put us into the care of another general manager. And then I went to college. And when I came back from college for a summer job, there was another general manager. And she stayed there for a few years. And this is where I have a memory gap, so this part's a little bit fuzzy, but I'm fairly certain it's accurate. While I was gone again to college, no, it wasn't the first time. So when I came back again, it was still general manager number 3. It was when I went away and came back again, so right before senior year, I want to say. No. Maybe? No. It was after senior year. It was after senior year in college. So, we had general manager number 3 for a little bit. It was when I came back that it was. Who was it? It was I think they went through 2 general managers while I was gone. That between during the senior year of college. I came back again, and that's when I needed to be interviewed again. So we were at another general manager. They went through 2, and then I was being introduced to yet another general manager. And then he ended up leaving, and then we had the guy who was managing 2 stores, and then he left for some reason. I think oh yeah, they didn't want him managing 2 stores. Duh. And then we got another one, and then he lasted for I think 2 years, and then I left to go to Martinsville, and then he got demoted to the guy now. So if you've been following along, that is 9 general managers across about 7 or 8 years. The Greensburg Taco Bell just chews them up and spits them out. You know, most of them barely last a year, if that. A couple of them, you know, intermittently, you know, last a couple of years, you know. But, you know, it chews them up and spits them out. You know, this new guy, you know, he seems like he's determined. You know, which is good. You know, he seems like he's determined, which is good. I think he'll, you know, end up lasting a little while before, you know, the company. I think the reason why he will end up leaving is because the company will move him somewhere, not him quitting or, you know, some such. I think the company will move him somewhere, which, you know, most likely a promotion of some sort, if I had to, you know, speculate. But, yeah, the environment has changed. Night shift is much smaller. Well, no, night shift is about the same size in terms of people. We've always been a small force. You know, it's just, yeah. The, you know, the procedures are a lot more locked down. It seems like the whole crew is much more in sync with that, which is really good. You know, it helps. You know, since we're all kind of on the same page with things, you know, it helps us get out faster. You know, which is a good and bad thing. You know, I can get back here and get to bed sooner, or you know, have leisure time. You know, just a little bit of leisure time before I go to a little bit of leisure time before I go to bed. Playing DNA. Anyway, you know, a little bit of leisure time playing DNA. You know, so that's good. There's no, but the cost for this, I think, is a lot of the, you know, kind of jovialism that was kind of on night shift, and just in general, seems a lot less jovial. I don't know. I think it might just be end of the year stressors kind of getting to everybody. I'll kind of see how it is. But I don't know. Certain things are a little bit more strict, which is good. Because there were, you know, a lot of things that weren't being held to overly tight standards over the years that have tightened up considerably. So that's fine. That's, you know, that's a good thing. You know, night shift just kind of being more in sync in general is good. You know, the old hatreds are still strong. You know, night shift and morning shift still butt heads constantly, but morning shift is a lot less bold. Things because they lost some of their key players, which is so nice. It's so nice. I think we're gonna have to mess with the time again in game. Get back to 19 when it's dark, because I need to get that variant pufferfish. Actually, wait. Doesn't the variant pufferfish drop during this time? Hold on. Yes. Wait. Yeah. Sunrise and night. Yes. Morning. Yeah. So we have until 12 technically in game. But you know, it's different. You know, I know some people are probably gonna be asking like, oh, didn't you say you were gonna go back to pizza here? I thought about it, and you know, I'm really a fool for thinking about it and not, just not making the decision right there. As badly as I got shafted, I don't think I'll go back. You know? I think I think doing like gigger stuff, instead of, trying to balance like two whole jobs is going to be much better. Because, if because I need to, since I'm here, I need to control my income. I mean, I'm still going to work enough to make sure the ends stay met, and, I mean, really, at this point, it's a fight to, reunite the ends, but, whatever. But yeah, I need to control my income. But, January? January's gonna be rough. I've said that before, and I will continue saying it. January's gonna be rough. February is... Fuck. February is going to be considerably less rough, and then from there, things will be easier. Alright, hold on, I gotta snip this because it's already tarring up. We're gonna have to cutter. We gotta do the little snipper here. There we go. So yeah, I just gotta, yeah, this will be easier. This will be much better executed. Well, honestly, kind of shocked I didn't think of this before, but we all make mistakes. But New Year's resolutions. Resolution 1, we will be sticking to plans. Barring cataclysm, we will be sticking to plans. Which necessitates, which necessitates sacrificing leisure time for working time. This is going to be a good thing because I'm trying to cut down on my smoking, which I've been pretty successful thus far. But we're really just going to cut it down, just really get it under control. Really get it back under control. It helps that the stash is really low, so, I don't want to deplete it completely, just in case. So, we'll be doing that. We'll be working hard. Thinking about, like, I need to get into a career. It's almost 30, and here I am saying stuff like this instead of, doing it, in my, earlier. But again, we all make mistakes. I'm a damn fool. Much like every philosopher eventually realizes I'm a fucking fool. So, we're still in the waiting phase. Gotta get through, these next couple months, and then things will get easier, and then we just go. I think I'll be getting 5 days at Taco Bell in a week, so that'll help. That'll help. Make sure that money's coming in, so that way the ends can reunite. That should be. I don't anticipate to catch up by the end of January, but I'm gonna try my damnedest. Again, I'm straying back into the negatives. Let's talk about the positives. Let's talk about the positives for this year in review. We did a lot. Aiden and I did a lot of really good work for BTC. So that pleases me. We did a lot of really good foundational stuff. There's a whole changelog. I might just do like a BTC review for the year. Just do like a little video, a little devlog. For that little devlog, just record that and post it. Like, all right, here's what we got. BTC changes made, and the future. What's next year going to look like in terms of our productivity for BTC? We'll find out. I'll discuss it with Aiden, make some plans, and we'll figure out what we're doing next year. I don't anticipate any of the hard work will start until we both, you know, move in together. You know, that's when we'll really be able to put our faces to the grindstone. But, you know, there's the Thornbearer variant, and that's when we need to shift over to the Knight. So we need to move the. We need to move. I'm just gonna use my wired mouse because it's got more. The DPI is higher. Oh yes. Anyway, 19. No, we'll just skip straight to 20. Cool. Alright, Sybil, let's go. More fishing. Anyway, so yeah, VTC, lots of good work. We did the action economy, so that's much better now. We did a bunch of classes. We did so many classes. We really need to get back onto the VTC dev streams, so that way, you know, I think that keeps us focused, and it leaves kind of like video evidence, so that way we can kind of go in and, you know, look at that and see, oh, hey, look, we did this and that, we talked about this, you know, whatever. Good stuff, you know, the good stuff. I think that's all the fish. I think that's all of them. Yeah, that's everything. We've got all the fish now. We did it. Hell yes, every single fish registered. Let's take a look at this. So yeah, Purgatorio Island, Ice Lake, the sewers, Star Wharf, right here in Everspring. We got the last few we needed. The Tidesong Cavern, the Hall of Ephemerality, and the Haze Market. Yeah, we got everything here. We got everything here. Hell yeah. We'll finish up this fishing spot and move on to the next. Good stuff. Good stuff. But yeah, VTC, we made a lot of really good progress. We did a lot of good foundational work, and I think we'll be able to do more good foundational work next year. You know, updating things, patching things. I need to sit up because I realize I'm not exactly. You know, the view on Streamlabs compared to what I see on the camera is a little bit different, so I gotta be mindful of that. You know, and the phone's not at the best angle because it's sitting on the iHome, and I'm not, like, sitting on something to elevate me. I could. No fish here. Oh, we fished it out. Okay, well. Ooh. Okay. Okay. Just gonna put that mouse there. We're gonna do this. We're gonna go to Purgatorio Island. Because I like fishing there. Oh, look at that, a genie one. Cool. Awesome. I think there's a spawn over here. There's 2 potential spawns here. I could switch to Broboxy, but eh. Also, no, the Filthoids did respawn. Did the Filthoids respawn? Okay, well, we're just gonna look at these couple of different potential spawn points. No, nothing? Oh, wait, no, there's one down there. Okay. Alright. Get a couple of Genimon. Okay. Alright, we did that. Hopefully they can't disrupt my fishing. God, I hope not. Anyway, we're gonna go back to using the worms, and we'll sell our catches here. See if we can clear out some more stuff in 11,000. Oh my God, and we'll definitely be able to clear out some stuff in the shop here. Okay, so character track ship module, got it. We could get another one. No, I need money more than anything else right now. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Money, money, money. Money. Yeah, we're just gonna... More worms. We're just gonna buy out the bait. Well, that one sells less of those. Or maybe it doesn't. I don't know. Fewer. 100K. Wait a minute. 20, 20, 200, 20, 50. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Okay. Alright. Alright. I see. I see you. Get some more, of those. Yeah, I think we'll just work on the Ice Lake shop to, buy out stuff for now. Cause, oof. Cause let's see, we're sitting at, wait a minute, sitting at like 9K ish, or almost a mil. Wait a second, we're sitting at almost a mil. Oh, yes, I wanted genius tactics. Oh, it's another weapon. That's Randy's weapon. And since Randy now has his weapon, oh wait,
seeking aid from an enemy.
There he is.
It seems
Load out.
hatred hasn't completely clouded your judgment.
And then I always stash. Whenever I get their like signature, I always stash them in here. Except for Psyche. Yes, I'm playing as Sybil right now, so I can't do that. I could play as no, Rebecca's already right there. Eh. Interesting. Anyway, yeah, we're just gonna look at the GD one real fast. I do need to farm more coins in order to, wait a minute, I need to raise a Genimon for, up to shield points. Oh. Yeah. Wait, what is this? Oh, he's got fierce on him. Ooh, hello. Okay. Hold on. Let's upgrade this. Let's upgrade this man. I'm gonna like get rid of all the wise ones because I don't grind XP like that. I just dump scrolls in. Keen is fine actually. Yeah. Unless it's like a gold one. I got this gold wise. Just so I've got I've got that. Whoa. Yeah. And we'll be able to ascend this one. And I'm gonna raise this one for Randy. Yes, good. And then we trade it. We put the trait on it. Is it... Which one is it? It's not gluttonous. Is it chubby? It's not chubby. It's ironclad? Yes. Trait, raise, not fierce, ironclad. There we go. And then we need... Oof. We need two more of those to do that. And then fierce. Do we? Oh. Yeah. Okay. Well, we've started the Genimon. We've started on Randy's Genimon. Yeah, that's good enough for me. But yeah, lots of good work on VTC, and I anticipate much more.
Relentlessly, or be consumed by the abyss. Ascend relentlessly, or be consumed by the abyss.
We're gonna be hearing that a lot over these couple minutes. Fuck.
Ascend relentlessly, or be consumed by the abyss.
Oh, are we out of weapon XP? Oh, wow. Okay. Another weapon track shift module. Good stuff, good stuff. Also, I figured out how to build weapons in this game. So let's see, this is a trigger weapon. So we want impetus, and then rage trammel, And then, oh hell, we need Fenrir. Fenrir? Yeah, it's Fenrir. Yeah. So let's see. Combo duration and trigger probability for continuity. Yeah, yeah, we want continuity trammel, and then let's see. We don't want any of the hunts. Shield reduce on bonus effects slash. That could be good. This is a slash weapon. Triggering a bonus effect. That'll be good. Patrol, and then Kishmet. And then we'll also put on Whirl of Illusion right here. And then for this one, we want Cerberus. So yeah, I figured out how to build weapons. We don't want attack crit chance. We don't want that. We want trammel. Oh, I can't trammel. Why can't I trammel? Well, let's go ahead and adjust these 2 slot tracks. And then trammel. Yeah. Oh, a 91%, a 94% chance for trigger probability. That's gonna be so good once we get the gold one. And then this one is just going to be straight attack speed. Since this is a trigger weapon, we don't need all of the. We're not going to be dumping all of the things on here. Do I even have the globules for this? Oh, I do. Oh, I do. Ooh. Crit chance attack. Yeah. Amplification. Nice. Impetus focus, and then this one doesn't need 2, but I don't have the globules. I don't have enough carmines for it, which kind of sucks, but, you know, whatever. And then, what do we need for this? We need more weapon XP. I guess I'll be grabbing that, too. Well, there we go. Oh, we're halfway to 60. We're halfway to 60. We'll get it. I'll get it in just a couple days. Anyway, now we just fish here until it's depleted, and then we'll move to Ice Lake itself. Oh. And we're already gonna get a goldfish, or a purple one, I mean. I don't know. I actually am not 100% sure how the fishing rules kind of work with that. Now we got the sea puff. But yeah, as for ETC, I would need to look at, you know, what we set out to do and compare that to what we got done to figure out, okay, because I know I fell short on the beats and the spells. I really need to catch up on that. That's just going to be a couple of, like, hard Nev sessions where I just sit there and just pound that out. Just utterly, you know? But you know, that'll be something for you know, near future me to figure out and then make plans for. You know, I think June will be where I start to just work really hard on VTC alongside, you know, regular work. Another guiding star. I think we'll get another sea puff. That'll be good. That'll be good. The next year, you know, I'm optimistic about. You know, because I'll be. You know, like I've said before, and from now until 2030, we're just going to be working real hard to, you know, kind of just get things out of the way. It'll be good. But short term, we're going to be, you know, just kind of, we're on the recovery. And, you know, so it's, the waiting is just kind of shitty, you know, like, you know, back when I was doing therapy, right? We're kind of instructed to tell people, like, tell people to live in the present. Which, yes, living in the present is definitely something to do. Don't, worry over much about the future because it's just gonna, like, crank your anxiety. You know, I mean, obviously, spare some thought to the future, but get don't get lost in it, right? And that's kind of what I'm grappling with now is, you know, the precarious situation of the present is causing anxiety for the future. And so, you know, I gotta just, kind of like suppress it and just keep on the path. It's, like I said, much easier said than done. But, it's not something I really had to think about too terribly much. Because, shit, back when I was, working 2 full jobs, I was not nearly as anxious about, you know, the future. But, you know, that's just, that's just how, that's just, I wasn't in as dire straits. And even then, it's not terrible now. But I think, one thing that I do use to kind of assuage my anxieties is, my tax return will help. Will help immensely with reuniting the ends, and maybe there'll be a little something left over. But I'm optimistic for next year, and, until 2030, we're just gonna keep the face to the grindstone, That being said, I should talk about the channel. So, next, in the upcoming year, obviously probably not for the first half, but, we'll see what happens. But, I'm still going to be doing the weekly smoking streams, of course. But I also just want to do, like, consistent weekly just gaming streams where I, play this or Mecha Break or, Helldivers, or something. I think I might, I think at least one of those a month is going to be just me and Aiden, gaming. Be like, alright, boys, it's me and Aiden playing. Let's see, I think we're gonna play. We're gonna play Dawn of War 2. We'll play some Battlefront 2, Helldivers 2. Detecting a pattern here. Probably play some some more Hero Siege, stuff like that. That'll be like a once a month stream where it's me and Aiden. Probably, we'll have some nice stuff there. GZ and Age Gaming. I think that's what I'll call I think that's what I'll call those streams. Those once a month streams. As for, like, regular video content, I'm not sure. Obviously, the Dew reviews, I am a little behind on the Dew reviews. I think I've got 2 bottles of Mountain Dew that are long overdue for a review. I need to find the time to get those done and get those uploaded. So, I just need to make a little list of things to do. Put a sticky note on the wall. Regular stuff. Alongside that, I need to get back into Path to Nowhere and Nikke and Snowbreak. Because let's see, Yu-Gi-Oh's kind of an on and off casual thing, and I play that off and on during these streams. Since this game has been consuming my life, this has been the stream content. It's just fishing streams. Where I just kind of unwind and ramble. I think I'll do the fishing on these streams, and then regular Do at Night Abyss streams will just be the grind. I'll try and stay away from covert commissions, because those get really repetitive. Instead I'll talk about character building and how it works and all that stuff. That could be a video. It's like, alright, how to build any character into at Night Abyss. Here's how you do it. First of all, get Covenanter. Alright, you're gonna need 4 Covenanters per, for each character. The build screen is actually kind of lends itself to this in a way. Which is, it's whatever, And then, as more game content comes out, I'll probably just, continue to do that. Be a DNA boy. At least until the game becomes bad and I get tired of it. But for now, it's nice. It's pretty good. The story, Actually, I'll talk about the story a little bit. So the first couple of acts, that happened in Ice Lake and stuff, heartbreaking, heartbreaking story. Great story though, heartbreaking. And then this second arc in Huashu seems to be much less heartbreaking, at least thus far. We will find out what happens once more of it comes out. But, you know, actually, I'm also interested in what happened to the other protagonist, because we haven't gotten any story for that side of the story, for that side of the narrative, as it were. So I'm looking forward to that. I think that'll be a whole new area too. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. But yeah, next year we're gonna stick much closer to plans. We're gonna plans that are made. We'll stick much closer to them. In that'll help. That'll help a lot with different things. It'll be good progress for VTC. Really, that's really aside from the financials, which I'm gonna try not to touch on again this stream. But VTC, all right, this is a project. This is a big project, right? And this year I think showed me and Abe that I think we're somewhat aware of like the work that we did, and speaking for myself, I am quite pleased with the work that was done. And I think Aiden is also aware, and I think he's also pleased. I think we can just I think we can continue that trend of doing good work that pleases us, and doing good work that pleases us, and we can just continue to do that. Not all of it's going to be like foundational work, because once the foundation is done, then we build on that, and of course make the necessary tweaks as we go. These campaigns tell stories, of course, but they also double as testing grounds for the systems that we're building. So I think we'll be able to do a lot of good work. We'll get a lot of good data to figure out, okay, does this work? Does this not? Do we need to tweak this? There's a number of things that are already kind of on the board to tweak, but we haven't really, hard figured that out yet. Like the called shot alternate rule set, I know needs like we've taken it off the board. Like it's not something we're doing until 2.0 for that comes out. A lot of it I think is just going to be me pounding out spells and feats, which spells are easy to do because I've figured out how I want them to scale. I've figured out all that stuff. I just need to sit down and do it. And I think I've said that a couple of different times, but it's really I just really need to sit down and do it. It's a couple days work. I could end up doing it on some days off, in June, when when I have time off and stuff. So we've got that. Good stuff for BTC. More gaming. I mean, yeah, I'm probably also going to be DMing. Well, no, that's not a probably. I will be DMing. I will be back in the DM seat next year. We got to play Sin Reborn, which I imagine will probably be, kind of the campaign of the year. So that's just fine. It's whatever. So yeah, Sin Reborn is going to be the campaign of next year. I still have a lot of work to do on the Sinner stuff that, isn't going to be that system isn't going to be immediately available in Sin, but it is kind of the featured thing in Sin that I really need to finish. I've gotten a lot of good work on it, but I really, really need to finish it. At least get it to a workable state, because right now it's a decent handful of somewhat disparate ideas that just really need to be kind of just hard pounded out. in order to, be rendered functional. So, you know, it's a lot of writing on my part, which, is fine. I can do that. Um, right now the document exists outside the folder because I don't want the boys to quite see what I'm working on yet, because I don't like to put stuff in the folder unless it's either, something that we want the boys' help on or something that's functional. I mean, you know, we've also, yeah, you know, yeah. Yeah, it's just a handful of things that need to get done for that a lot of campaign prep too. I really need to like batten down kind of hard and write campaigns, and put them in the folder so that the boys can see it. I mean, it's obviously not going to be like visually appealing or eye catching because it's just text, but I mean, as long as it's there, it can be augmented, as it were, with art and stuff later. Because I mean, the idea is eventually we are going to print physical books for this game, which will have artwork and stuff to make it nice and make it look nice and whatnot. You know. Speaking of making it nice and stuff, I uh, I think we should. I think this coming year we should kind of shift some resources to kind of not hard, but we should shift some resources to lore, to writing lore. Because for the just biggest, nearly the biggest possible majority, the lore exists strictly for inside the heads of mostly me and Aiden, but just generally like what we've told the boys, like, oh, they ask their questions and stuff, and we tell them, but it's not written down. Is what I'm getting at, and we need to make it so that it's written down. That's the big thing. Is it needs to be written down, so that way, it's yeah, it needs to be written down. So that way, if the boys ask a question, of course we'll answer it, and we'll be like, oh yeah, this is, oh yeah, this, like lore bit concerning like a deity or like the planes and stuff. It's like, oh yeah, here's the answer to your question, and more information is on this document. You know, because I think that'll go a long way. That and it'll be out of our heads and actually on digital paper, so that way, if we forget something, we don't accidentally, retcon ourselves, which I'm sure has happened. I'm sure it's happened. We just need to, you know, we just gotta, it'll be a benefit. It'll be a benefit, definite benefit. So I think we shift. Just a little bit away from like hard mechanics and shift a little bit into lore. It's actual like lore writing. Um, it's gonna be one of those things, I think, where it's gonna be kind of hard to get that ball rolling. But then once we get that ball rolling, I think we'll be good. It's just you know kind of getting it moving. Uh, it's like real life physics where the force it's like real life physics where the force necessary to persuade something to begin motion is more than actually it's more than to actually maintain motion. That seems really strange, but I think you all know what I'm talking about. I think yeah. I think that makes sense. Like it's the hardest part is getting the ball rolling, and once we get it rolling, it'll be much easier. Wow, it's almost like I could have just said that. Can you tell it's 6 a.m. and I'm a little my mind's in a lot of places. My mind's in a lot of different places. It's the end of the year, so I think everybody's mind is in a lot of different places. But that's just kind of how it is. Things are a little rough for everybody. You know, it's the end of the year. Duh. So I think, like I said, like I keep saying, I'm optimistic about this upcoming year. So I think we'll be good too. Yeah, I think we'll be good once I get past. I think I will be good once I get past the hard part. You know, and the hard part is the first quarter, really. The hard part is the first quarter, and so, you know, once we're past that, we might not be golden, but we'll at least be, we might be like silver, you know. Anyway, we ran out of fish. We ran out of fish here, so we sell the fish to get our fishing coins. Another 10,000. Another 10,000. And then, 10,000 coins to get 1,000,000. Oh, and that's actually now just straight up sold out. Okay. What's next? More combat melodies. More character XP. Okay, alright. More character XP. I could grab some secret letter clues, but I don't really have problems with those right now. What do the Carmine globules cost on this one? 250 for 500 though. That's not bad. But yeah, I think we just deplete this shop of basically everything. How many of these do I have? Oh, we can almost do a pull. Wait, is there one here? There's not one here. There is one here. Okay. Alright, so let's go to Ice Lake. And boom, and teleport. Oh. Alright, so more fishing. Yeah. So I am optimistic about the good work we'll do on VTC. Can you tell I'm trying not to talk about money? But I think one of the big things that we're going to end up doing, because let's see, we did the action economy. I think a lot of what we're going to end up doing is just first iterations of classes and maybe some second iterations. And when I say that, I mean like the 1 to 20 stuff. Sin is going to force us to do some 2150s, which I think will be interesting. Trying to, figuring out like, okay, what are we doing, in 2150, for these classes to, maintain the uniqueness, relative uniqueness, I guess, and also still, because I think part of what is going to come from doing the 2150s for classes is going to be, there's going to be a lot of improvements to, pre-existing abilities in 120, of course. But we also don't want to just do that. We're also going to want to do, we're also going to want, it's not just going to be improvements in 2150. It's also going to be giving some new toys. And, levels 21 to 50 are a greater range of levels than, it's just more levels than 1 to 20. So we'll be able to fit, new abilities in there, and improvements to the 120 abilities and to the 2150 abilities. So I think, I think it'll be another instance of just getting getting the new stuff in there in appropriate places, making sure they scale appropriately, and then also, fitting in those improvements, you know, to those abilities, as well as the improvements to the old abilities. And, yeah. It's some of the classes are definitely going to challenge our creativity, and other classes I think will be much easier. Um, one example a one example of a class where it'll be easier. I mean, none of these are really going to be easy, but I think one example class where things will be easier will be, uh, honestly, I think Bard will be relatively easy compared to some other classes to, give them new stuff, improve their old stuff, this that. But I think some of the other a class that's going to be difficult, just as an example, will be Bulwark, because I think some of I think we might have done just a little bit too good of a job for some of the 120s in terms of like a good solid kit, and thus more stuff is going to be, a little bit of new stuff is going to be a little bit of a challenge, especially for Bulwark. Oh my god. I mean, I already know for a fact that one thing for Bulwark that will be able to really give them is damage guard. Obviously, the percent base damage reduction. I think we did reserve that for the higher levels, which is where it should be, definitely. I think we're also on Bulwark 5 because I built the class at college and then it's been through its different iterations. I think Bulwark 5 is. I mean, obviously, I think it's the best iteration. Um, you know, Especially since we've kind of figured out our method. We figured out our methodology for 120, and I think the 2150 methodology is going to be similar, but I don't think it's going to be quite the same. We're going to have to think about it a little bit differently in order to, be successful with it. Um, it might be a thing where it might just be a thing where we have to take a couple of different sessions of sitting down and doing the dev work to it's going to be a little bit harder to sit down and do that. It might take a few like sit down sessions, which we do those once a week. So we will most of the time we do dev work once a week. We do reserve one dev session a week for gaming, just so we're not burning ourselves out working. And honestly, there might be, in between, just thinking of the future, I think there will be times. I think it's good. I think it's good to have times where there's not an active campaign. Now, as for what gets worked on when there's not an active campaign, hold on, let me take a break from the fishing here so I can actually parse my thoughts fully. I think what gets worked on when there isn't an active campaign, I think that's when we do the lore writing. There's no active campaign. If we're not doing mechanic work, like hard mechanical work for the game itself, then we don't really need to. I mean, obviously everything needs testing all the time, right? But I think when there's not an active campaign, we're not actively getting, new data for things. I think that's when we do. I think that'd be a prime opportunity to do, feat work, spell work, lore work. I think that'll be that kind of period. Obviously, the feats kind of stray a little bit, kind of, lean into that mechanical work. But I think basic feats, we have an idea of what we want, so we don't have to, really worry too much about, oh, it's going to break the game. And spells, like I said, I figured out how I want them to scale, how I want them to just be. So I think that's fine. lore, of course, doesn't have implications on mechanics, it just has implications on story. So, that'll actually help with story crafting, which is good, which is nice. So I think if we have time when there's not an active campaign, the boys want to break, I want to break, whatever. We just, we do that. That's when we're like, okay, we're not gonna do like classes or hard mechanical work. We're gonna do spells. We're gonna do feats. We're gonna do lore. I think that's reasonable. I think that's a reasonable thing to say. Obviously there is some mechanical stuff. Some mechanical stuff that we can do without without an immediate need for like hard data testing, like how the damage types work and interact with each other. I think we can do that and make it work. Without like oh, we don't really need like a hard mechanical test to say that like fire damage and ice damage like kind of like do extra damage against each other. I don't think we need that. Like we don't need a hard mechanical test for like, oh, the holy damage and unholy damage, are also kind of hard counters to each other. They do extra damage to each other. We don't need hard data for that. Just for those facts by themselves. As for actual numbers for those things, that's where we need hard data. But just saying that, as a fact, I don't think disrupts anything. Because let's see, the damage types that we have are fire, ice, acid, electricity, light, darkness, chaos, sonic, psychic, prismatic, and void. And alongside, the basic ones like slash, pierce, and bludgeon. I think just stating how those damage types work, just factually, just makes sense. Obviously, I think there'll be hard mechanics attached to those things. Like, for example, fire damage is if you have certain class features or feats or whatever, fire damage like ignites stuff, which causes damage over time. Okay, ice damage is gonna like freeze up and slow down opponents. Acid damage might, deal some, might like reduce the effectiveness of armor. Electricity causes kind of like I wouldn't say stun, but it's another kind of like slow down thing, but it's different than ice. Ice probably like interacts with like bludgeon in a way. Chaos damage is, chaos damage. It's just kind of sits by itself. Maybe at high levels it'll kind of inflict insanity, which that's another system we need to get done. We need to redo the insanity system. Holy and unholy, obviously, those will have things attached to them. Prismatic is just going to like bypass damage reductions. Void is also going to bypass damage reductions, but those two things are going to do it in different ways. Also, void damage isn't really accessible to players. It's more of a monster-only thing. But there will be instances where the player characters will be able to do void damage. Also, prismatic damage is also rare as well. If we're talking, the common damage types are like the 4 basic elements and then light and darkness. Those are the most common. You have uncommon damage types, which are sonic, psychic, and chaos. Not many classes are going to be able to take advantage of that, in the early levels and even in like the middle levels. That'll be when it's introduced. Prismatic is just probably going to be attached to, specific weapons and stuff. And Void, of course, is going to be attached to, the monsters of the Void, obviously. And so, I think just there will be some, foundational work that we can do that will impact mechanics, but isn't something that we're going to need immediate hard data for. And so we can, you know, again, if we have time when we're not in an active campaign, we can just do that work. You know, just state, hey, ice and fire don't play nice, you know, and, you know, people, you know, I think some of the boys will go, like, you know, duh, you know, light and darkness don't play nice with each other, duh, you know, and then, you know, that kind of stuff. I think we'll be able to do some of that and be successful with it. And of course, the lore writing, you know, will expand the spell book, and the feat book, the feat trees, the feat families, all that stuff. You know, we got I think a big thing that we're gonna end up having to work on is going to be the style feats, because we've kind of withdrawn those because they are unbalanced. I kind of just had a flash of shallow inspiration, kind of just threw them in, and it's like, ooh, these work with the old status effects, but since we've improved the status effects, improved and changed the status effects, these are now kind of cracked. Oops. So that's another thing that we can. That'll be another thing we just have to sit with, you know, and just figure out. You know, it's a whole thing. You know, it's just the normal shit. But yeah, I think this year was a really good, successful year for BTC, and next year I think we'll be able to kind of build on that, maintain that momentum, and do more really really good work. You know, and that's I'm confident with that. I'm confident in saying that. Certainly. So you know, there's that. Also, this mouse is done charging. I can unplug it and have a little bit more freedom. I'm gonna turn the RGB on so I can keep track of, you know, the power. But yeah, you know, we've gotten the ball rolling with a lot of good stuff, and I think we'll definitely be able to keep said ball rolling with, you know, more good stuff. Definitely. Definitely. So yeah, I'm feeling good. You know, I am not anxious about BTC at all. You know, I mean, once I actually sit down with Aiden and we look at the goals and stuff that, you know, we'd set out and see what we did and what we didn't do, I think we're gonna be just a touch disappointed, but at the same time, I think we also kind of went off that script in some areas, and when it comes to, you know, getting the action economy done and, you know, stuff like that, spending time on that, I think that was a good move. So, you know, I think at least for me, there will be a gut reaction where I'm a little bit disappointed, but then I'll, you know, open my eyes and take a look at what got done, and I think that'll be satisfactory. And I think since we've kind of figured out how we want certain things to look, how we want certain things to be, I think because we've done that, we'll be able to set better, more effective goals, in order to, you know, to moving forward, you know, stuff like that. You know, get one step closer. You know, every time we get something done, we take one step closer to completion, and then, you know, sometimes when we get something done that necessitates a tweak, on something that we already got done, and that might be just a little bit of a step back, but it's not as big of a step back as, you know, the thing not being done. The thing not being done. You know, another thing, and I realize, you know, Aiden watches these VODs. He listens to them at work. So I think the next thing that I'm going to say, you know, might might cause some questioning, but I think once he and I have a conversation about it, and I actually kind of take more time to explain what I mean, and I think we've touched on this as well. Is I kind of want I want to get the boys more involved with the process. You know, I want to get the boys more involved with the process. Um, the boys have demonstrated that they can help with the work. The primary concern is, they're not, they don't sit down almost every week like we do and, work on this stuff. And so they're not as attuned to the methodologies that we've kind of figured out, you know? I mean, in some areas they are, but they're not like, locked into it like we are. And so I think if we, guide them, I think if we involve them, we also, guide them as, to be much more active with guidance. Um, because I mean, the boys obviously have an interest. They wouldn't be doing, doing, the things that we do with, they wouldn't be doing the things that we do if, they weren't interested, obviously. And so I think we'll definitely be able to, harness that to take some of the workload off of us, and, get some fresh ideas possibly, get some fresh ideas in. So that way it'll help make some of those harder things easier. I think I explained that well enough, but like I said, Aiden and I will have a conversation about it because I know he'll probably end up listening to this pod, and you know, I think our part of it, as in for me and him, when it comes to the boys, is seeing what the boys do and kind of tuning them in more to our methodologies, and just like help guiding them, like, okay, yeah, this class feature looks good, this class feature looks good, however, this one small part of it needs to be scaled up or scaled down, because other similar class features from this other class do it this way, and this is kind of how we do it. Like, I want to involve the boys more, because I think that'll help with. I think if the boys are more involved with the crafting of the mechanics, then that will help with engagement. Um, because it's for. I mean, not for Wezzy, obviously, because Wezzy's been. Wezzy's first VTC campaign was YOD. Anyway, but I think for the other boys, um, you know, it's kind of, I think for the boys it's kind of hard for them to engage with, at times, and there are a number of different factors that play into that. But I think by you know pulling them in to actually craft part of this world, they can, that'll help with engagement, because then if they see something like, oh, hey, I made that, you know or just it'll also, I think, help with the role play, because the boys have improved with the role play. They've improved, definitely. I mean, I don't think anybody's a perfect role player, obviously, but I don't think there's a such thing as a perfect role player, but you can definitely point out a good or bad role player. And I think the boys started off really not grasping how big of an aspect roleplay is in just tabletop RPGs in general, and They started off that way, and I think as you know they've played more games, got a few campaigns under their belts, and all this, they've improved. And I think by uh, you know having them engage with the actual crafting of different things, that will stimulate further improvement in the role play and stuff. Uh, I think all that made sense. Keep blowing smoke at the camera because I'm used to it being over there. Oh, we did all the fish here. Fantastic. This isn't taking nearly as long as it did last week. Alright. Let's see what our haul is this time. Another 10,000. Hell yes. Hell yes. Okay. So, what are we after? We're after character track shift modules. There's another one. We're gonna grab that. Okay. Those are officially sold out. Okay. Alright. Good stuff. I really need Carmine globules. I was gonna go after the character XP, but I really, really need Carmine globules. 5,000 is good. Also, we're sitting on like 1,000,000 coins. Hell yes. But yeah, I think we'll be able to stimulate further improvement from the boys' roleplay by involving them with with stuff. All right, now we're gonna go to the sewer, and I think this is going to necessitate a short fight because Filthoids do spawn right next to the fishing spot. Oh, they just go away. Oh, they just go away? Well...
is surging like my passion for love.
Oh yeah, weapon damage on this thing is really lacking. Then again, the purpose of this weapon is to stimulate Sybil's, E instead of...
Get lost.
Okay. Anyway. Yeah, weapon
Seeking aid from an
damage for
enemy.
this is really not good.
It seems
This isn't-
hatred hasn't completely clouded your judgment.
It's because it's not a crit weapon. It is a trigger weapon. And we can't put that on there because it's not leveled up enough. Okay, let me think. Because we have all the tracks. Now we have all the tracks. Also, can I amplify impetus again? Oh, yes, we can. Oh, yeah, baby. 6,000. But 122% attack is really, really nice. Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. Let me think. What else do we need? We could just do straight trammel. But impetus and impetus. Why is impetus focus on here? We need trammel. Yeah, that's gonna just douse our crit chance, but, Then we put rage. We can't put rage trammel on here. Let's see. What does brutality do? When defeating an enemy, grants a stack. That's combo duration. Celerity is going to get a gold wedge, which is going to help immensely, I think, because this weapon seems kind of slow. In the meantime, each combo level increases trigger probability. Okay, hold on. There's... Oh, what is it? It's the... Ooh, the bug. Oh wait, we have it right here. When defeating an enemy. Okay, so... We need Kishmet. Probably, yeah, Kishmet will probably be our third Fenrir on this weapon. But anyway, back to the fishing. What the hell was that? Oh, do need to pick those up. All right, fishing in the sewer. Oh, my neck. Yeah. Okay. That was something. Let's actually hold on. I'm gonna look at because we're kind of depleting the shop now. Obviously, we want to get the Twilight. I haven't really been spending a lot of these. I still have 19 of them, but you need, I think, 2 or 3. I think even for at least right now, I need like 2 per character to get the little nodes that branch off. So I think for now we divert to Demon Wedge materials and getting those Twilight threads. And then on this side, this one's basically kind of fresh, so we can just kind of grab stuff as I want it. I mean, the titles will obviously be sold out and gone once we grab them all, but I think we'll be able to do that. Let's see, getting another Deft Genie Mon is kind of not really on my priority list right now. So yeah, we'll grab these first 2, and then depending on what pops up after, I think we can just move left to right and deplete the shop. And then after that, I think all that'll be left are these purple creams. And then once we hit that, we just do the same thing here, just progress. You know, grab the stuff that I really, really want or really, really need, and then just move left to right. So yeah, we'll grab this, this, and this, and then after those are sold out, we just move left to right. And yeah, just move it from there. Yeah, the cigar's almost done, and I think I'll deplete this fishing spot either, you know, right after I finish stream, or hell, maybe even during stream. I don't know. We'll find out. We'll figure it out, won't we? But you know, yeah, that's my 2 cents on the boys. Is, you know, I think they've made a lot of improvements, and I think we'll be able to stimulate that by involving them, and you know, involving them under not necessarily strict oversight, I would say, but firm oversight. The oversight definitely needs to be firm, because some of the things that have come out from some of these boys are kind of wild, and other things somewhat questionable. And I think by being, you know, more involved with, you know, being a little bit more firm with, okay, you know, hey, this is the methodology, you know, this is what we've kind of figured out, what works. We just, you know, do it that way. I'm gonna double check stream health real quick. Just because it's been a minute. Damn, we've been hitting. We've been doing numbers, boys. We've been doing numbers. Let's see, this is here. Okay. Okay. Alright. Everything appears to be working. Yeah, everything appears to be working well. Good. Good. That's oh, I need to put the game back up. There we go. But yeah, you know, I think by involving the boys, we'll be able to, you know, kind of stimulate, you know, making better role players out of them. That's really the goal. Is, you know, more just more engagement, really, at this point. You know, not, you know, better engagement is good, obviously, but you know, first things first. I think more engagement is the correct first step. You know. And I think Sin will be able to do that, because there'll be a lot of characters to interact with, a lot of different characters. You know. I also think Sin will help stimulate the boys' roleplay, because I have set a I did actually, you know, announce like backstory requirements. You know, because beforehand, you know, backstory is just kind of, you know, I kind of just went whatever with backstory, and you know, character arcs just kind of happened. This worked with YOD because those guys, you know, that was a mostly different group, with, you know, generally just more experience with, tabletop games and role play and stuff. So I think that there was a different group, so I didn't need to think about these kinds of things. But since we have a group of kind of fresh out newbies, kind of at least in at least half the group is kind of like that. I think by saying, hey, make sure you've got for Sin, it's like make sure you have a pretty good backstory for the role play aspect. I think by doing that, that'll kind of stimulate things. Um, and there'll be some time between the current active campaign and Sin. Um, the current active campaign is progressing. I did say initially I had said, oh, we're going to start Sin in January. But considering the disruptions to my life and the current active and the perceived length of the currently active campaign, that's going to be kind of pushed back. So that's fine. That's fine. I mean, stuff happened to me. So. It's mostly my schedule is the one that's changing, and I don't know if it'll quite fit with the with the current schedule that's laid out. So I think there'll probably end up being more schedule changes on my end, and then we'll kind of figure something out, of course, with that and stuff to kind of figure, okay, here's what we're kind of aiming for, here's my free time. Does that, obviously I think some of it will overlap with their free time, and we'll get something figured out, just stuff like that. So I don't foresee the boys undergoing any schedule changes. I mean, anything can happen, obviously, but well, it's a matter of like, we'll kind of we'll get there when it's relevant, and we'll figure it out. But yeah, it's just something we gotta do. Oh, but I'm looking forward to Sin quite a lot, actually. My mind has kind of drifted away from it a little bit towards other campaigns, just because I've had this break out of the DM seat, so my mind isn't as focused on my mind isn't really focused at all on the current active campaign, because I'm not really involved with it. But once I get popped back into the DM seat, I think that'll go a long way towards focusing me on just uniting the disparate elements that need to be united, and also kind of polishing it up, rounding off the edges, that kind of stuff. So, I think it'll be a good time. I think it'll be nice. So, another thing that I am kind of interested in is, obviously, I most of the time take the role as the DM. That doesn't mean I don't want to play, be a player. I do kind of go on and off with that. Wanting to actually play the game that I'm building. And so, one thing that I also want to kind of cultivate is, the abilities of the different guys to, of course, sit in the DM seat, and actually run the show. And we've played a handful of different things with different guys in the seat, and we've seen some differences in style. We've seen some strengths and we've also seen some weaknesses. And I think, just by, you know, providing, I think by providing, guidance in different areas, to kind of help shore up those strengths and kind of help mitigate those weaknesses, I think we'll be able to have kind of, guys rotating in and out. Um, you know, but I think this might be a kind of a one thing at a time thing. I might be getting a little too ambitious, but I think we can definitely do it. We can definitely figure out, all right, what is each guy good at? What can each guy improve on? How, we can, and this is, and we just, bring that up, and stuff. I think we'll be able to do. I think I'm confident. I'm confident. I'm confident in the boys being able to do it. It's just it's a learning thing. I kind of dove into the whole DMing thing back when I was in high school, and I mean these boys are all I think all the boys are younger than me, to varying degrees. Um, so I mean I've got a decent amount of experience under my belt. I've learned from mistakes that I've made. Um, I'm improving in different ways. And I think we can encourage the same thing in the other boys. Uh, you know, part of that though is them being receptive, and I think to different extents they are receptive. Uh, you know, I've talked about Wessy's DMing style a couple of different times, and Wesy listens to these VODs on and off. Um, so I mean, you know, much like I said, there's not such thing as a perfect role player. I don't think there's a such thing as a perfect DM. I think each DM is who sits in the chair is going to have their style for different things, and sometimes it's a player DM kind of mismatch, like, oh, a DM has a certain style of storytelling and whatnot, and that doesn't quite gel with the players. I don't think we have any of those issues here that are just like unfixable. I don't think there's a hard uh I don't think there's a hard, kind of disconnect between, each of us, when it comes to, who's sitting in the chair. But we also haven't seen all of the boys, run the show. So, I could be dead wrong. But I don't think we have any hard, things that kind of just turn people off from playing with certain people in the DM seat. So I think we can rotate in some new DMs. That's for much further down the line though. Um, you know, I think these stimulating more engagement and role play is going to help with the eventual refining of new DMs. Um, but it's kind of those we'll see kind of things. Alright, that's done. That's done. But I'm gonna take a swig of this. I'm gonna put a piece of butterscotch in because my stomach is a little upset. So, like I said, like I keep saying, I've got confidence for the future when it comes to our little gaming group, and it's just a matter of getting. I think largely it's just a matter of getting more experience under the boys' belts. But I think I'm gonna turn this off. I think that's gonna be it for me. Thank you all for sitting with me with my ramblings, and you know, it is December 31st technically, so you won't see me again until after the new year. So for everyone, Happy New Year, Happy 2026. Looking forward to next year, and until then,